Hello everyone, welcome to Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services. It's a video on daily news and editorial analysis, which I'll be covering from the Hindu and Indian Express. The most important news and editorial of the day that is relevant for both prelims and mains examination perspective will be discussed in this session. Let's get started with the news topic list. Today is 9th of September. The first news, that is US approve upgrade of Pakistan F-16 aircraft, which is a concern for India. Second, exotic animal seized in Assam. We'll see the detail and some of the loopholes in the laws. Third, India-China troops disengage in the line of actual control. This is again the news, and that is on a positive note between India and China. Fourth, that is Wildlife Panel okays Indian Air Force base in Ladakh sanctuaries. And the last is an editorial, the outline of an essential global pandemic treaty. A brilliant editorial that will give an insight how the global pandemic treaty is essentially required. Apart from the news and editorial discussion, at the end of this video, there will be MCQ based questions, and these questions will be based on current affairs that will help you for the upcoming examination. So without any further delay, let's get started. Before that, if you are new to our channel, do not forget to subscribe Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services on YouTube. If you like this video, if you find this video informative and helpful, do not forget to press a like button. So starting the session with the first news of the day, that is US approve upgradation of Pakistan F-16 aircraft. This particular news is important for General Studies Paper 2 under the topic Effect of Policies and Politics of Developed and Developing Countries. So recently, the US administration has approved the potential sale of sustainment and related equipments for the upgrade of Pakistan fighter, that is F-16 fighter aircraft, and the deal is valued at around $450 million. क्या क्या इस डील में की जाएगी, क्या नई चीज़ें दी जाएगी पाकिस्तान को. So this is more of a upgradation part. No new equipments will be provided. This is to ensure that the upgradation of F-16 aircraft will be there. No new aircraft is going to be provided, right? So the deal includes the modification and support of the aircraft and engine hardware and even for the software, as well as repair and return the jets and engine spare parts, that is classified and unclassified software and software that supports all other stuffs, right? So there's no additional aircraft that is coming to Pakistan. This is more of a upgradation that is coming with the F-16 aircraft. Now the deal, however, will not include any new capabilities, weapons or munitions in the aircraft. तो जो F-16 एयरक्राफ्ट है उसकी किसी भी तरह से एडवांसमेंट नहीं की जाएगी. वेदर द न्यू कैपेबिलिटीज आर देयर, वेपन्स और म्यूनिशंस की अगर बात करें, कोई चीज़ें ऐड नहीं होगी. ओवरऑल जो एयरक्राफ्ट की फंक्शनिंग है, जो सॉफ्टवेयर रिलेटेड इश्यूज हैं, जो रिपेयर्स की ज़रूरत है, इट्स लाइक सर्विसिंग बेसिकली, राइट? व्हेनेवर यू बाय अ कार और अ मोटरसाइकिल, you go for the upgradation, you go for the servicing. So this is, you can just relate with an example that this is more or less kind of an upgradation that is taking place. Now this is the F-16 aircraft, just to give you an idea. This is the image of F-16 aircraft. Now support for foreign policy, what basically the US administration had advocated. They said the Pentagon has in a statement added that this proposed sale will support the foreign policies and the national security objective of the United States, and it will allow the Pakistan to retain the interoperability with United States partner forces in an ongoing counter-terrorism efforts and prepare for the future contingency operation. So this is what the US has made an official statement. Now it also said that the proposed sale will continue to sustain country's F-16 fleet, which greatly improves Pakistan's ability to support counterterrorism operations on its robust air-to-ground capacity. Definitely, there is no doubt if advancement is done, overall अगर बात करें F-16 aircraft की capacity की, वो ज़रूर बढ़ेगी. Now, Pakistan F-16S की अगर जर्नी की बात करें, the upgrade is a part of the US military assistance to Pakistan. Under this policy, it has sold the upgraded part of F-16S since 1980. This is not new that has started. It's a way back in 1980. Despite the country open support to Taliban and Haqqani network, which used terrorism as a state policy against India. तो उसके बावजूद भी पाकिस्तान को F-16 दी गई, जिसकी इंडिया ने बाकायदे इस चीज़ों को इससे एतराज़ जाहिर किया. इंडिया हैज़ एडवोकेटेड दिस इज समथिंग नॉट अंडर द स्पिरिट ऑफ द डिप्लोमेसी. Now, 1981 में बात करें, when the US agreed to sell the F-16 jet to Pakistan aftermath of the Soviet invasion of the Afghanistan. Now, this still continued till 1990. The program fell short due to America's concern about Pakistan nuclear programs, forcing US to hold back for the delivery of 28 F-16, which Pakistan has paid around 658 million. तो पाकिस्तान ने पेमेंट भी कर दी थी, बट जिस तरह से पाकिस्तान के न्यूक्लियर प्रोग्राम्स में डेवलपमेंट हो रही थी, एडवांसमेंट हो रही थी, उसको देखते हुए अमेरिका ने इसको रोल बैक कर लिया था. Now, things took a turn when after 9/11, the Pakistan joined America war on terrorism, and it said that Pakistan is also of the opinion that terrorism should not prevail. तो इस तरह की बातों के बाद फिर से इनकी एग्रीमेंट हुई, and the US has sold 18 advanced block 52 F-16 approximately 1.4 billion के प्राइस पे, and they have targeted pods and electronic warfare pods. So these are some of the major advancement trade between basically Pakistan and United States, which India has definitely objected. Now, India की क्या response है अभी present के context में, and even for the previous one also, India has maintained a strict silence on the present matter, right? A day after the US has announced $450 million package to reflect Pakistan large F-16 fighter fleet that was with the latest technology advancement. US has said that all the upgradation will be done. And the F-16S fleet of Pakistan was last seen in actions against India fighter aircraft, against the dog fighter which was over the sky in the Kashmir and aftermath of the Balakot strike in 2019. This was again mostly in the news. Balakot strike के बारे में आप सब लोगों को पता होगा. So that is related to that only when this F-16 fleet was used by Pakistan, right? And India has forcefully protested against the sale of F-16 fighter aircraft to the Pakistan by the United States of America. Another news, that is exotic animal seized in Assam, something relevant for General Studies paper 2, paper 3 precisely, that is conservation, environmental pollutions, degradation and EIA. This type of news is very much relevant for your prelims examination. A direct question on the policies and the loopholes can be asked. Now, in a major breakthrough, the Assam police has recently seized 39 exotic animal species. I'll tell you the detail of the species that has recovered. If you get into details, though joitos and baby wolpies, 19 chimpanzees and monkeys, 13 small turtle, 3 large tortoise and 2 exotic birds were seized by the Assam police. So these are the list of the 39 species that was found. Now, the smuggler was traveling from Mizoram-Myanmar border, and they were bound for Siliguri in the northwest Bengal. And this was the biggest seize that of the smuggle, therefore the exotic animal that was reported by the Assam police. And in a major breakthrough, this is the achievement that Assam police has cracked. Now, North Bengal as a hub की अगर बात करें, according to the Assam police, the official statement has said that Myanmar, despite being the civil war, has been a source of most exotic animals smuggled into the northeastern India and elsewhere in the country, with the northwest Bengal becoming the hub of the illegal trade. So suppose if you are writing in mains paper, अगर आपको example quote करना है, तो definitely you can use the example of North Bengal, and even those of you who are appearing for WPS state PCS examination, वो भी इस तरह के examples को जरूर use करेंगे. Now, lack of legal protection of the wildlife. This is a reason, this is a loophole that has basically prompted the smugglers to do so. So unfortunately, the trade in the exotic species does not fall within the purview of 1972 Wildlife Protection Act, leaving a gap behind the legal hole in the India's freedom protection system, and this is well exploited by those involved in the various level of wildlife trade. Marketing trade की अगर बात करें of the exotic wildlife are even operated online, apprehending that illegal trade continued. Poachers have so far been enormously ineffective, and their endeavor continue to do so in this type of smuggling. Now, India has been the member of CITES की अगर बात करें, Convention or International ट्रेड इन इंडेंजर्ड स्पीसीज और फ्लोरा एंड फौना 1976 में जो कन्वेंशन आई थी उसको इंडिया इज ऑलरेडी अ मेंबर, राइट? सो इट इज अ ड्यूटी दैट वी नीड टू कम विद अ legislation which is protecting any kind of smuggling, right? So CITES is an international agreement between the government that aims to ensure the international trade in the wildlife animals and even plant does not threaten for their survival. So this is a single most important convention that India need to come up with. India is already a member, India is already a party to CITES, but इस पे legislation की काफ़ी ज़्यादा ज़रूरत है. So a direct question in the mains examination can also be framed that how far India need to come up with such legislation which protect the smuggling. Now, World Wildlife की report है इसमें, कुछ astonishing report है. Like 2020, the World Wildlife Report found that 6,000 different species of flora and fauna were seized between 1990 to 2018. ये कुछ 11 सालों में ये देखा गया कि इस तरह के numbers मिले. Suspected traffickers from around the world were identified, illustrating the wildlife crime in the global issues. और कुछ लेटेस्ट रिपोर्ट अगर देखें जो यूएन इन्वायरमेंट प्रोग्राम की तरफ से आ रही है by the partner traffic has said that the wildlife monitoring traffic is basically a wildlife monitoring agency. It has found that over 70,000 native and exotic animals have their derivatives found in traffic, and 18 Indian airport has been reported in this from 2011 to 2020. So these are again a concern for a country like India and globally, although there are some of the rules and regulation, but India precisely need to strict the rules so that these cases are not reported further. Again, the other news, that is India-China troops disengage at the LAC in Ladakh, line of actual control के पास disengagement process हुई है. This is again a positive news that is coming. Important for General Studies paper 2, that is India and its neighborhood relations. So according to the latest India-China joint statement, after the 16th round of Corps commander level talks, ये बातें बाहर आई है that both countries, that India and China, will be moving out of the Gorga hot spring, that is PP50. बहुत सारे ऐसे springs हैं. So PP50 spring से disengagement process start हो रही है and there will be a coordination in a planned manner. So the statement said that the consensus was made over the disengagement of the Gorka hot spring, which has been reached between the two countries. So both India and China has agreed for the disengagement in the region. Now, to some extent, the expert are of the opinion जो upcoming SCO meeting है उसको ध्यान में रख करके इस तरह के decision ली गई है from Chinese side. So the move come ahead of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization meeting, which is scheduled to be held in Uzbekistan next week, and in which the Prime Minister of India is expected to meet the Chinese president. However, there is no confirmation from both the sides. Officially, we do not know whether this will happen or not, but these are the assumptions from the expert. Now, the leaders have not spoken to each other in November 2019, जब ब्रिक्स की समिट हुई थी ब्रसेल में. उस टाइम पे इंडिया और चाइना की कोई फॉर्मल मीटिंग, जो हर एक मीटिंग के साइडलाइंस पे फॉर्मल मीटिंग होती है दो कंट्रीज के बीच में, वो नहीं इस्टेब्लिश की गई, राइट? And India will continue to press for the complete disengagement and de-escalations from the friction area. And the Corp commander level talk की अगर बात करें उसमें already India ने advocate किया है, and even to the larger extent in the forum like SCO, India will definitely proactively say that we want the complete disengagement, not only from a specific springs. Now, the 16th round of the commander level talk, this was held in mid-July, and there was again a positive movement that was witnessed with the process, and disengagement has also started. And the details of the disengagement are still awaited, how the things will move. Because of the security purposes, the things are not revealed. Last month, the India and Chinese armies has held a division commander level meeting also, where they discussed the matter pertaining to the peace, tranquility along the line of actual control in the Ladakh sector. Now moving to the other news, wildlife panel OK's IAF base in the Ladakh sanctuaries, something relevant for General Studies paper 2, that is government policies and intervention for the development of various sectors and issues arising from its design and implementations. So recently, the Standing Committee of the National Board of Wildlife have cleared the setting up of new Air Force base, जो इंडियन एयरफोर्स की बेस है वो लद्दाख रीजन में यहाँ पे बनाई जा रही है. एंड दिस इज टू इंश्योर दैट इंडिया और चाइना के बीच में जिस तरह से स्टैंड ऑफ चल रही है, तो इंडिया को एक स्ट्रॉन्ग पॉइंट चाहिए, एक मिलिट्री बेस चाहिए होगी. दैट इज द रीजन the National Board of Wildlife has finally agreed to provide the clearances, right? So the NOC has been already provided from the National Board of Wildlife. The clearance for the Air Force base was given at the high level meeting which was held recently. And the base, which will be located at Changtang Wildlife Sanctuary in the eastern Ladakh, will be spread over 508 1.7 hectare of land, not very far from the line of actual control. So India just wanted to ensure कि जो line of actual control के region है वहाँ पे एयरफोर्स की बेस को बनाया जा सके और इंडिया के एक strong impression, basically to give Chinese the counter, we need to do such actions. For the first time, NBW, that is National Board of Wildlife, has looked the proposal from the Ladakh region, which do not fall under the jurisdiction of Wildlife Protection Act, because जब 370 आर्टिकल जब तक एब्रोगेट नहीं हुई थी उस समय तक वाइल्ड लाइफ प्रोटेक्शन एक्ट वहाँ पे लागू नहीं होती, बिकॉज जम्मू कश्मीर की अपनी अलग रूल्स थी. बट जब से 2019 में एब्रोगेशन हुई आर्टिकल 370 की, उसके बाद जो परव्यू है वाइल्ड लाइफ प्रोटेक्शन एक्ट की वो जम्मू एंड कश्मीर तक जाती है. Now, other defense project की अगर बात करें, the National Board of Wildlife has cleared 8 other defense project, right, for the in the wildlife sanctuary as India takes step to ramp up its defense infrastructure near line of actual control to match similar initiative that is taken by China. So definitely, this is the time, this is the need of the hour that we need to complement our all other efforts, and even parallelly we have to move and counter China, right? तो infrastructure development जिस तरह से Chinese कर रहे हैं उस तरह से हमें भी आगे बढ़ने होंगे. The project will be cleared by the chief wildlife warden, was cleared actually by the of Ladakh before it was sent to the NBWA. The National Board of Wildlife stipulated that animal passage will be implemented and maintained in this stretches. Now, environmental clearances or NOC is again an important segment here. So after the approval from that was there from the Parliamentary Standing Committee or Standing Committee, Ministry of Defense will now require the environmental clearance from the Forest Conservation Act, Environment Protection Act that fall under the Ladakh Protected Cold Desert. तो ये clearances भी mandatory होंगी, उसके बाद ही सारी चीजें construction की काम की जा सकती है. The environmental clearances has also been given for laying the optical fiber cable in these two sanctuaries, because once our forces are operating, a good connectivity is essentially required. Moving to the editorial of the day, the outline of an essential global pandemic treaty, a brilliant editorial that will give you how the treaty should be there in terms of combating any pandemic in a country or across the globe. So this is relevant for General Studies paper 2 under the topic issues related to development and management of health. So what is the theme of this article? The बात करें इस article की, let's talk about the global pandemic treaty. And there's some important subheads to understand this article. The first is widespread health inequality, वैक्सीन की disparity जिस तरह से है लो इनकम कंट्रीज में, उसके बारे में थोड़ा देखेंगे. इंडिया लीड रोल, किस तरह से इंडिया ने एक्टिवली प्रोएक्टिवली लीड रोल की है फॉर द वैक्सीन डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन. द लेसन दैट वी हैव लर्न एंड व्हाट आर द वे फॉरवर्ड दैट वी नीड टू इनकॉर्पोरेट. So the COVID-19 pandemic was considered as one of the most severe pandemic in the world that we have seen in the last 100 years. So the world has not witnessed such level of pandemic which has completely hit the globe. ऐसा नहीं है किसी एक specific region में हुई, इससे पहले जितनी भी pandemic हुई है किसी ना किसी specific region तक confined थी. COVID-19 pandemic has affected almost entire globe, right? It is estimated that 18 million people may have died from the COVID-19. And these are some of the sources from the credible sources, and the scale of the loss has not seen the second war. Second World War के बाद इस तरह की इतनी losses कभी नहीं देखी गई mankind में. Further, with 120 million people pushed into the extreme poverty, this is not only the death. Because of the COVID-19, many people have lost their livelihood. बहुत लोग ऐसे हैं जो वापस जो खास करके वैसे तबके जो बिलो पॉवर्टी लाइन के जिन्होंने थोड़ी बहुत इंप्रूवमेंट की थी, they have again went back to the extreme poverty line. Massive recession is there in the economy. No single government or institution have been able to address this emergency single-handedly. कोई भी ऐसी कंट्री नहीं है जिन्होंने इस प्रॉब्लम से बहुत जल्दी रिकवर किया हो या उसके पास कोई एक सॉल्यूशन हो, राइट? सो ऑल द कंट्रीज हैव अ सीवियर इम्पैक्ट. एवरी इकोनॉमी, इवन बीट इंडिया, is recovering from the COVID-19 pandemic problems. Now, this gives us a larger perspective that how nobody is safe until everybody is safe. This is a brilliant line. You can use this in essay also. So, to ensure that once nobody is safe, basically to ensure how nobody is safe until everybody is safe. तो हर एक इंडिविजुअल पे काम करने की जरूरत है, हर एक लोगों को सेव करने की जरूरत है. Then only we can save the entire world. We have to work in a bottom-up approach, drop by drop. Now, widespread health inequality की अगर बात करें, health system have been stretched beyond their capacity during the COVID-19 pandemic, and the reality of Indian healthcare system was also evident. So it is important that gross health inequality has been observed in the distribution of even for the vaccines, diagnostic, therapeutics across the world. This is not precisely for India, but this is for across the globe, right? Now, with the World Health Organization declaring the monkeypox outbreak as a public health emergency for international concern, ये ज़रूरी है कि ये देखा जाए जहाँ पे केसेस 32,000 तक रिपोर्ट किए गए हैं 80 कंट्रीज में, एंड वर्ल्ड फेस अ रिस्क ऑफ हेल्थ क्राइसिस. So what lesson we need to learn? We need to learn that whatever has happened in the COVID-19 pandemic, we need to first ensure that हमारे पास सारी preventive measures हैं, preparatory measures हैं, और इसको रोकथाम के लिए we are taking all best possible awareness campaign also. Now, vaccine disparity in the low income countries की बात की गई है. This is a brutal truth that the monopolies have held by the pharma's company. अगर बड़े pharmaceutical companies की बात करें like Pfizer, BioNTech, Moderna, they have created almost 9 billionaires since the pandemic has begun, and over $1,000 profit was made, right? Even for more than that. But अगर बात करें March 2022 तक, only 3% of the low-income countries have been vaccinated. This is a poor number that is coming out of the low-income countries, as compared to 60.18% in the high-income countries. You can see the disparity. And what is the problem? That the people are dying, people are losing their life, right? An international target for vaccine was 70%. This was the international target that was set of the world population against the COVID-19 by mid-2022. But we have not achieved this target. And we have missed because of the poor countries are in the back in the queue. And even the developed countries, even the developing countries are first prioritizing their country's vaccination. And these low-income countries are not getting support. These countries are not capable to develop the vaccines, and they are directly or indirectly dependent on the vaccine-producing countries. Now, India की lead role है. This is something very very important. If you are specifically writing in mains paper, अगर आप mains में लिख रहे हैं तो ये सारे points अब वहाँ पे ज़रूर highlight करें, right? So India's response in the COVID-19 pandemic has reached a global equity, leveraging its own potential, जहाँ पे इंडिया ने एक example set की है world wide legislators के लिए. India produced closely 60% of the world vaccine. It is said that it accounts for basically 60 to 70% of United States annual vaccine procurement. जितनी vaccine procurement US करती है उसमें 60 to 80% vaccine इंडिया से जाती है. And this is also the part of the vaccine diplomacy or vaccine maitri, which is committed against health inequality, right? Commitment जो है इंडिया ने की हुई है. But again, if we talk about low income countries, उनको इतनी benefits नहीं मिली. Now, as of 2021, India shipped 594.35 lakh doses under Make in India initiative, where 72 countries was benefited. And this is a classical example of global cooperations and very important point. उसके अलावा अगर बात करें 81.25 lakh doses as a gift दी गई. 339 first dose was given as a commercial purposes, and 173 lakh doses were delivered as a COVAX program. COVAX is again बहुत important program है जो Gavi के अंदर काम करिए. This is a vaccine alliance, and a possible question can also be framed in the prelims examination from this. Now, some lesson that has been learned from this pandemic and what we need to do in future. So COVID-19 pandemic, the world has seen a multitude initiative to address the pandemic and to do better with such problems, and how the vaccine need to be developed. But there are all valuable treaties under the umbrella of WHO, right? But कुछ journals की अगर बात करें, international journals है ब्रिटेन की BMJ, right? This is a weekly journal that is reported in Britain. So they have said that they need to have built a cohesion to avoid a fragmentation of the member countries. तो पूरे world को एक तरचे basically they need to build a cohesion where each and every country is helping to other countries. Now, they have mentioned that such treaties should cover a crucial aspect of data sharing, genome sequencing, and any other emerging virus. So until unless these things are well taken care of, ये बहुत ही tough होगा कि हम किसी pandemic को रोक पाए. Now, it should be formally committed that the government and parliament to implement the early warning system, properly fund and rapid response mechanism. Now, the way forward, the single line that you can conclude with the way forward, that finally the global pandemic treaty will not only reduce the socio-economic inequalities, but across the nation, it will also say that it will also enhance a global pandemic preparedness for the future health emergency, and India will definitely take this lead, and India must take a lead in this because we are the country where the almost largest manufacturers of the vaccines की अगर बात करें, इंडिया की जो वैक्सीन्स है बहुत सारे कंट्रीज में वी यूज टू एक्सपोर्ट इट. सो दिस इज अ राइट टाइम दैट इंडिया नीड टू टेक अ लीड एंड ऑल्सो हेल्प द अंडर डेवलप्ड कंट्रीज जो लो इनकम कंट्रीज हैं उनको भी हेल्प करें. वी कैन हैव अ सब्सिडाइज रेट टू हेल्प देम आउट, राइट? सो दिस बाय दिस India can set a precedent that definitely we are a responsible country and committed to ensure that the vaccines which is being there is accessible to each and everyone. So this is how the way forward can be concluded. Now moving to the MCQ questions of the day. Before I proceed, just to tell you the answers of yesterday questions. For first question, the correct option is A. For second question, the correct option is C. Today's MCQ for practice, आपको बताना है new umbrella entities के बारे में. Only those entities that are owned and controlled by Indian citizens are the part of the NUEs, and no foreign investors is allowed to be the part of NUEs. So do check out for the correct option. Second, electoral bond. All nationalized in India, Bank in India are authorized to issue the in-cash bond valid for 15 days from the date of issuance, and these bonds are remittable at the legitimate account of the political parties. So the election is somewhere closed in Gujarat and Haryana. By-elections are there. So this type of question might again be relevant for the examination purposes. So this was all about for the daily news and editorial analysis, followed by the MCQ questions. If you have any other concern, you can let me know. I'll be more than happy to assist you. For time being, I'm signing off. Thank you so much for watching this video.